What is up? All right, we're going live. I'm also going to be live streaming down here on Instagram. For those of you that are watching in the future, I usually take about a minute or two here to let people come into the live stream, and then I'm going to jump into the subject. So if you're watching in the future, maybe jump forward about 2 minutes, and you'll see the actual content of this video. But today we're going to talk about Out of Shadows. We're going to talk about the documentary Plandemic. For those of you over here on Instagram, hello. I'm doing a YouTube live stream, and I'm streaming right now to both Instagram and YouTube. I want to talk to you guys about the two documentaries, Plandemic as well as Out of Shadows. And I'm going to give it maybe like another 30 or 45 seconds to let a few more people come into the live stream. And then we're going to deep dive into these subjects because there's a lot to talk about. I watched Out of Shadows right when it came out, maybe months ago, whenever that was. I think it's like 2 months old. And then I finally just watched Plandemic Indoctrination last night. And there's so much to talk about that I just have to go live. And I want to get your chats. I want to see what you guys are thinking about all this stuff. So now we're just going to jump into the subject. So basically, I watched the documentary Plandemic Indoctrination last night, and it's amazing. If you haven't seen this documentary, you absolutely must go watch it. It's something that I think is so transformational to see the facts. We live in an era where truth is being hidden, and that's like a no-brainer. But the truth is also out there for you to see. So let me go through some of the main facts that I learned just by watching this documentary. The first one that absolutely blew my mind, I already kind of thought that the corona was manufactured, but now they show in this documentary that there's actual patents that have been filed to patent the virus. So what does that mean? First of all, let's talk about the patenting process. They show in this documentary very clearly, there's a part of our US guidebook on laws, the title and codes, and they cite it in the documentary. It's like code 210 or something like that, title code 210, whatever the code number is, doesn't matter. The code is that you are not legally able to, or not legally allowed to patent nature. So you can't go outside and discover a new animal and take its DNA and patent it, or you can't even take DNA from a human being and patent it. Their nature is protected from being patented and taken into a corporate landscape. So because of that, the really interesting thing about these patents that were filed years and years ago about coronavirus is simply the fact that it's a lose-lose on either side of this critical question. And the critical question is, did they manufacture and patent this virus? So if they did, then their legal patent stands up, because patenting the virus means that it is man-made. So if it's man-made, then they have patented it, and now that means that a man-made virus has been given out to the global population. So that's bad, but at least truthful in the legal sense. If they're being untruthful in the legal sense and they've patented a naturally occurring virus, then that's another lose, because that then means that they've now actually patented nature, which then implicates the government and all of that. But I lean far more towards the other side. I think the patent is legit. And so they've patented this virus that now they're, through the mainstream news, the mind programming is that this is a naturally occurring virus, a naturally occurring disease. But it is most clearly not. It has its origins in the patent office, which started in the United States, eventually went to Wuhan, China to be fully developed. And they were doing that as a way to get around these legal ramifications. So what's really interesting about this conversation of the patent is it's the perfect smoking gun that we really need in order to be able to talk about the coronavirus in totality. Because the truth is, we're being lied to. I just made a YouTube video that I posted, I think 2 days ago. You guys need to go watch it after the live stream. It's called You Are Being Lied To. It's called Old Soul, You're Not Going Crazy, You're Being Lied To. And we are being gaslit, guys. We are 100% being indoctrinated into our own demise. It doesn't mean that we have to manifest it. And if you're an old soul, light worker, indigo, starseed, all of those people, if you're one of those souls here on the planet, you already know that we don't have to buy into this narrative. But what makes us so crazy is that we have this internal filter that can see without a shadow of a doubt. We can feel when something is true or when we're being lied to. And what makes us so crazy is that when we are being lied to and then we're told we're not being lied to, that makes us feel crazy. It makes us feel cognitive dissonance. So now let's jump to the subject of MK Ultra. So MK Ultra is a governmentally researched and implemented technique for mind control. And what that basically means is mind influence. If they want you to think something, they have figured out through MK Ultra how to actually do that. So right now, we are all undergoing a global MK Ultra, and it starts by disrupting your mind. It starts by corrupting your cognitive dissonance. And so when we go into this state of cognitive dissonance and we feel like we don't know what is true and we don't know who's lying to us and where's the boogeyman? I thought the snake in the garden was over there, but now maybe the snake in the garden's over there. All of this is to literally create in you a state of psychosis, a state of delusion, and a state that ultimately makes you docile and makes you kind of curl up into the fetal position because you don't know what to do anymore. That is on purpose. That's the point. The point is not to add clarity anywhere. The point is to offer confusion after confusion after confusion so that you become docile, so that you kind of roll up into that fetal position and say, I don't know what to do. I don't know what's going on. And then when you're in that position, then the MK Ultra begins. Now they give you the narrative. They give you the answer. They give you what they want you to think and what they want you to talk about. And because the average person out there is so mind programmed by this matrix, this MK Ultra, those of us that are awake to it, which I really think there's like a 25% of our global population that is awake to this narrative of the matrix. But those of us that are awake now get policed by all our friends and all our family, and we get kicked out of working at our jobs, and we lose so much of the comfort in our life simply by speaking truth. And that's another element of MK Ultra. They want you to feel incompetent. They want you to feel attacked. They want you to feel vulnerable, because it's when you're in that state that now you're much more easily controlled. So we are most certainly being proactively mind-controlled, MK Ultra'd, given confusion, given all of these tools and techniques that they implement on us to put us in a state where we feel like we don't know how to think for ourselves. Now, but see, the old soul, let's just jump there for a second. The old soul has a hot knife to cut through this. And what is that hot knife? It's called discernment. The old soul, which has been through thousands of years on the planet, has developed the tool of discernment. And it is specifically your tool of discernment that is being censored. Because think about it from this angle. If Google wants to have the definitive answer on something, they say, well, it goes against our terms of service to put this out on YouTube or to put it on Facebook or Instagram or wherever it is. It goes against our terms of service. That basically means that they want to be able to say, this is the truth and this is not the truth. Now, we usually, let's talk about the real world for a second. In the real world, we interact with crazy people all the time. Discernment is a tool that you have to develop to be able to discern who is crazy and who is actually speaking truth, even though it might sound crazy. When you have that tool of discernment, that means you are sharpening your inner blade. Your inner awareness is becoming much more sharp to be able to cut through the truth and the lies that you are being presented. So what Google is essentially doing is saying, we will be your tool of discernment. We do not want you to go out there and think for yourself. And then we, because we support these platforms, we say, yeah, we consent to that. We want you to be our tool of discernment. I don't want to have to discern things for myself. I'm afraid of the truth. I'm afraid of the crazies out there. So yeah, you should kick them off of the internet. They don't have any place in social dialogue. But that is not the way that the real world works, and that's certainly not the way that our Constitution has protected freedom of speech. The reason why we have freedom of speech is because speech is uncomfortable, but it must be protected, because it is on the other side of our discomfort that we will actually feel into things that are true versus things that are not true. And it's almost like this condescending parent. Google has taken on this condescending parental role where they have said, you don't have to do that. You don't have to be concerned with deciphering truth. We're going to censor truth, and we're going to tell you what is true and what's not true, so you don't ever have to worry about it. And the hard truth is the average person says, oh my God, thank you, Google. Oh my God, thank you, Facebook. Thank you, Instagram. You've protected us. But no, they haven't. They have actually literally removed a tool from your cognitive abilities, another one. So we're being MK Ultra'd, and then we're being spoon-fed a narrative. Now let's dive a little bit more into Plandemic, and then we're going to dive into Out of Shadows. So Plandemic makes it abundantly clear that what is currently happening in this narrative is that it was scripted, it was manufactured, and now it's being disseminated upon the planet as a Shakespearean play. The Shakespearean idea is that the world is a stage. And so if the world is a stage, all you got to do is implement the actors, implement the script, and then you control the narrative. They know that. These dark occultists, these dark magicians, they are archons, they have luciferian agendas, they are against the sovereignty of the human being. That is what they are specifically against. They do not believe you're divine. They do not want you to believe that you're divine. They want you to literally let go, to voluntarily consent and hand over the divinity and the sovereignty that you have and that you are. So the documentary Plandemic shows perfectly how this was a manufactured virus, how it was disseminated upon the global population, and how the narrative that we're experiencing now was literally test run in September of last year. They actually had exercises and they implemented, I don't know how you say it, it's like precautionary measures. They literally make-believed this whole thing back in September. They had all of these people come together and enact what it would be like to do this. Hi, Nicole. I see you there. Thanks for the comment. So they have been doing this. They have been on their side psychologically preparing themselves for everything that they wanted to have happen. So they prepared the narratives as they would give it. They also prepared the narratives when they would receive pushback. And now they're doing all of this on a daily basis. They're basically monitoring the internet. And then when some truth actually pops up and says, hey, this narrative is not legit, what are you guys doing? Or hey, this critical question doesn't make any sense. Anytime truth pops up, that's where you're going to find Google, Facebook, all of them immediately descend and attack and censor those people. And then immediately they switch into crowd control, or as they would call it, problem management. The truth has gotten out there, and the truth is the problem. So now the problem management is distracting you and making you think that what you just saw is actually a lie, is actually corrupt information that's going to turn you into some sort of evil troll. But the truth is they're all trolling us. They're trolling us by telling us that the truth is a lie. So why is it that when all of those doctors came out just recently and said, hey, we've been using hydroxy on our patients and we're having 100% positive rates of recovery by using hydroxy? The CEO of Google, the very next day after they censored that video off the internet, was in the middle of a hearing in front of our Senate for antitrust. And the direct question they asked the CEO of Google is, do you support freedom of speech? Why have you kicked off these doctors from your platform? The very first thing he said, which is obviously bullshit, was that we support freedom of expression. And then 3 sentences later, he says, but that form of expression we don't support because it goes against the CDC and the WHO and everything Bill Gates has been saying. And so they say it's for the best interest of you, the viewer, that they censor that information off the internet. But why is it not in your best interest to help you to build your tool of discernment to allow you to watch that video and come to your own conclusion? It's because they don't want you thinking for yourself. They genuinely want you to take them at face value. And the best maneuver ever is that if you never see something, then you never think of something. So if you never see these doctors talking, then you never put 2 and 2 together. You never ask critical questions. And that is the problem management. That is the control of when the truth pops up, they kick that shit right out of the narrative, and then immediately they switch to discrediting the people that even spoke up in the first place. So now that we're all aware, now that we all see the truth of the hydroxy conversation, next thing you know, the narrative only becomes about one of the doctors. It becomes racist, misogynistic. It becomes all about how she said something about sex with demons. Dude, none of that has anything to do with the actual conversation of what these doctors were talking about. And doctors, plural. There's like 12 of these doctors talking about their clinical trials. And now it all becomes a look at the monkey over here, look at the birdie, don't pay attention to the truth. Instead, look at the birdie. This girl said something about having sex with demons, or this girl believes in alien DNA. Bro, do you realize that we live in a reality that is way more strange than we could even possibly imagine? We do not live in just a physical realm. We live in a spiritual dimension. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience. So yeah, you better believe that the truth is actually much crazier than you would ever imagine. So, with all of that in mind, let's wrap up Plandemic. So they show clearly this was manufactured, this was practiced, this was implemented, and now we're in it. We're in the middle of it. And it's going to result in forced vaccinations is their ultimate goal. But we are currently protected. We are currently protected by a constitutional right that says the government is not allowed to implement any of that. And the government knows it. The Council on Foreign Relations, you must research what is the Council on Foreign Relations. I'm not going to be able to explain it to you in this video because there's too many other things I want to talk about. Look on the internet. What is the Council on Foreign Relations? To give you the short synopsis, let's go back. I'm going to do this in like 2 minutes. Let's do it as fast as I possibly can. At the turn of the 1900s, our Federal Reserve was birthed. The money system was birthed. Gold was now transferred into paper dollars and held in the banks. Then the banks said, oh, guess what? We're losing that gold. So now the whole system goes bankrupt. Paper money is now the only way we can buy and sell things. And now we hit the Great Depression. In the middle of the Great Depression, voluntary slavery is now implemented upon us. Look up the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. It states that while slavery is now officially outlawed, voluntary servitude is okay. So now they manufacture consent. Look up Noam Chomsky. He talks about manufactured consent. They manufactured for you to become a slave. And they did that by giving you a social security number, a driver's license, making you file your taxes. Even when you register to vote, you are consenting. They have manufactured that funnel of consent for you to put yourself into voluntary servitude to the state. AKA, you're not sovereign anymore. You're not a sovereign man and woman. You're actually part of the state. So with this awareness in mind, what does this have to do with the Council on Foreign Relations? David Rockefeller, Warburg, I forget his first name, John Warburg or something like that, Rothschilds, they came together and created the Council on Foreign Relations in 1929, I think it was. And it's still in effect to this day. Who's on the Council of Foreign Relations today? There's about 5,000 members that are on the Council on Foreign Relations that make up politicians like Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, George Bush Jr., George Bush Sr., Bill Clinton. There's other powerful people on there like Bill Gates, George Soros. Then you have actual people that are involved in the media, that write media and disseminate media. You have people that are journalists. And when the Council on Foreign Relations comes together, they talk specifically about plans that they want the American people to get on board with. It's a marketing agency for a foreign nation that operates here, and it disseminates their information here to you. So the Council on Foreign Relations is something that you must know about. And I highly recommend that you go down that rabbit hole, because you're going to see very clearly how all of our politicians have been working together with a foreign entity to bring foreign policy into our country. They want to eradicate the Union. They want to eradicate our Constitution. And they want to make a one world government, and it will only start when we become officially a federalized government. Okay, so that's all the time I'm going to spend on Council on Foreign Relations. If you want more, there's plenty more on YouTube and on Google. Don't use Google, fuck that. Use DuckDuckGo. They don't trace you. Yeah, fuck Google. I never use Google search. So anyways, the pandemic is such that they want us to believe their narrative. That is the whole goal of this pandemic. So now let's jump to Out of Shadows. Out of Shadows is an incredible documentary that I connect with very deeply, actually, because I worked in the Hollywood system. I toured with Rihanna, I toured with Lady Gaga, I performed with Jay-Z, I've met Beyonce, I've worked with Kanye West. I know these people. I don't know them. I know Rihanna really well because I spent 4 years with her, and through working with her, I got to meet all these other people. I worked with Lady Gaga about 10 times, maybe less, maybe 6 or 7 times. Now, when I was there, when I was in that system, my soul started feeling stuff. I grew up Christian. I believe passionately in the teachings of Christ, and I believe that his warnings of the luciferian agenda in this world need to be listened to. They must be heard. However, when I was younger and I wanted to do music with my life, I pursued moving to Los Angeles and getting involved in the Hollywood music scene. And the reason that I did that, as a Christian, I believed that I could bring light into this otherwise dark world. And I was young, and I thought I could do that. And you know what? I think I did that. But at the same time, after spending 7 years in the Hollywood industry and seeing firsthand the MK Ultra that Rihanna's creative management was doing to the audiences that we would perform in front of, they were MK Ultraing the consumers to buy more music, to buy more product, to worship Rihanna. And I saw that firsthand. Obviously, it wasn't happening on day one. It happened over time. And when I saw that being implemented, that was my first red flag. I was like, what in the world is going on here? Why are we taking music, which is obviously fun, it makes people feel good, it brings people together, everybody is unifying in this moment of music, and yet they're using these MK Ultra techniques to mind control the audiences that we would perform in front of. Now, because I saw that, I immediately started questioning what I was doing. And about 3 years into the Rihanna gig, I decided I wanted to quit. And I had to wait about another 6 or 9 months before it was an appropriate time for me to quit. And then I bounced. So just around 4 years of working with her, I bounced. And then I still didn't really get how large this thing was just yet. I continued working in the industry for the next 5 years. I worked with Adam Lambert and Miguel, and did a couple shows with Lady Gaga. I worked with Tayo Cruz, Ricky Martin, I performed on The Ellen Show and SNL. I kept performing in all of these places, and I just kept seeing more and more and more that this shit is going on. And it got to the point where in 2015 or 2016, I decided to move. I decided to quit working for that industry officially for all artists, because I started seeing that all artists are doing this. If you're in that machine, if you're at that top level, you're doing this. So, and it's almost like these artists don't have any control over that. It's the business people behind them. It's the shadows behind the face that you see in a music video or on an album. It's the shadow people behind them that are controlling them to bring apart their MK Ultra Luciferian agenda through the medium of entertainment. So in 2016, I decided to move to Nashville and quit working with the Hollywood game because I think it's bullshit. And my soul does not feel right giving my talents to those people that I can clearly see are implementing this mind control on the masses. And what was really interesting is actually the month that I decided to move out of Los Angeles, I got a phone call from a buddy that said, hey, I'm putting together a band for Gwen Stefani. If you want to join, it's basically your gig. You got to just come down and play for these guys one time, but I vouch for you, and it's yours if you want it. And I had to decide right then and there, was I going to move to Nashville and follow through on my promise to myself of quitting that industry for the betterment of my soul and the souls of people on earth? Was I going to choose that path? Or was I going to choose the path of taking the gig with Gwen Stefani, which would have been another mainstream, top-paying, incredible world touring opportunity? And you know what I chose? I said no. I said no. And some of my friends said, bro, you're fucking crazy. What are you doing? And I said, actually, you're fucking crazy. Because if you think that my soul can be bought like that, you obviously don't know me. So I said no once again and for a final time to that industry. And I moved to Nashville, and I wrestle with this because I gave up my dream. I made my reality I manifested my dream. When I was younger, all I wanted to do was play in front of thousands of people and go across the world and do that. But I gave that up. I chose to give that up because I couldn't do it with the feeling that I had in my heart. I knew it wasn't right. That way was not right. And now I believe that I'm on the path to manifesting the right way of doing that, which is coming from a place of integrity and keeping my soul intact, so that when my soul creates music, that music will impact your soul in a positive way. So, Out of Shadows shows clearly that the Hollywood game is a Luciferian agenda that is officially using MK Ultra and mind programming everybody out there to be these kind of automatons programmed in the Matrix. And when you're programmed in the Matrix, you don't even know it. There's a wonderful scene in the movie The Matrix where Morpheus is giving Neo the breakdown on what the Matrix is, and they're walking through the Matrix for the first time, where Neo's eyes are opened, and it's the scene where he's about to encounter the lady in the red dress. And right before that moment, he's talking about all of these people that you see in the Matrix, all of these suits walking by on the street. They've been so indoctrinated and are so programmed by the Matrix that they will actually fight you to defend it. That is a truth. The people that are indoctrinated in this Matrix will fight you to defend the Matrix. Even though, old soul, it's all bullshit. Guess what? They're still going to fight you because they believe in their core that what they have is true, even though it's a lie and an illusion. It's ultimately an illusion. It's thought control, and that's what the Matrix is. They still buy into it, and they will fight you if you even just utter the words that they're in a form of a trap. Here's another quick tangent. Did you know that crabs will actually, when put in like a big pot and they're trying to get out, if there comes the point where they can't get out of it, and then you put a new crab into that pot, and that new crab is trying to climb up and get out of that pot, the other crabs will actually grab that crab and pull him back down into the pot. So That is what we do as human beings. When somebody's waking up and exiting the matrix, everybody in the matrix grabs that person by the ankles and says, "You can't fucking get out of here. How dare you try to get out of here?" But the good news is you don't have to worry about those people. Those people have no control over who you actually are. And then the other good news is that there's plenty of other people out there in the world that have woken up to this matrix. And so Out of Shadows shows clearly how the matrix functions and operates and what their real agenda is. The way that Ralph Smart says it, he's the guy on YouTube, he goes by Infinite Waters. He calls these beings the inorganic ones, because have you ever noticed that these beings who control everything, you've never seen with your own two eyes. They've never shown up in your physical reality, and yet they manipulate all of the pieces of your physical reality. These inorganic beings that are not fully in this dimension are influencing this dimension. They do use human beings at the top levels of this shadow government or shadow control system. They use human beings, but they themselves are ultimately not. And the whole pyramid goes all the way up to the evil eye. I'm trying not to trigger people by using words like Satan. But bro, truth has to be spoken, man. The top of their pyramid is run by Lucifer himself. At the very least, it is their belief in Lucifer that is running their full agenda. And then they implement that agenda downwards. And it's no surprise to me why recently I saw the Satanic Temple is now coming to bat for the abortion conversation. I posted this on my Instagram about a week ago, if you haven't seen it. I just posted it to my story though, so maybe I'll make another video about it. But the Satanic Temples came out and said, we are actually protecting women's rights to get abortions, and we're calling it religious protection. So then how do you get the religious protection to actually get an abortion? Well, the Satanic Temple has conveniently manufactured for you a ritual, in their words, they call it a satanic ritual, that if you go through, they'll give you an abortion, and you're protected because you practiced the religion of Satanism, so therefore you're religiously protected to be able to get your abortion. So the Satanists are now coming in, attempting to once again deceive you, to make you think that they are the empathetic ones, that they are compassionate, and they're here for women's rights. Oh my God, thank you, Satan. I'm so happy. I now can get an abortion. If I just do this little satanic ritual, I can now get an abortion. How wonderful. Yeah, what the fuck, Nicole? I see your comment. Yeah, what the fuck? So they're coming more and more and more forward. And it's going to be clearer and clearer and clearer that Ephesians 6:12 is more true and current than ever before. Ephesians 6:12 says, we do not fight against flesh and blood, but on principalities, authoritarian figures, governments. I'm paraphrasing it, but go look it up for yourself. Ephesians 6:12. We are not fighting a physical fight. We are fighting a spiritual battle. That is the game that we are playing right now. It is a battle for your soul. And it's a battle for the souls of your friends and your family. And it's devastating to the old soul who can see what I just put out there. It's devastating to watch your own family or your own friends buy into this, buy this narrative hook, line, and sinker. But that is where you must come in with your full heart, with love and compassion, to actually hold those people in your life and take care of them, because they desperately need you now more than ever. And what they don't need is an argument. So don't let them argue. I have a podcast that I do with a few of my really good friends. It's called the Remembering Podcast. And a question that came up in me while we were recording our previous episode is, do you have to love somebody, or do you have to agree with somebody in order to love them? That is how I suggest you interact with these people that are mind controlled in the matrix. You must come back to your center, where you do not allow agree or disagree to be the center of your conversation. The center of your conversation should only be about love. How can I love on you? Because when you circumvent the conversation of black and white and right and wrong and good and evil, when you circumvent that conversation and you just come at somebody with unconditional love, see, unconditional love means I don't have to agree with you in order to love you. So if you display that in action through compassionate behavior to these people that are mind controlled, that's a crack in the matrix because they're not used to that. They're used to conditional love, which says, I will only love you if I agree with you. But now, how magical is it if you don't agree with somebody and yet you still love them anyways? If you still show them your heart, you still show up with vulnerability, and you still show up with compassion and empathy, that shit will break their mind programming. It'll do one of two things. It'll either break their mind programming or they will just never want to talk to you. And that sucks, but that's just what will happen. But your unconditional love and acceptance of that person will actually be able to transform them. And so it's wildly important that we remember that we have power. Love is more powerful than fear because fear is a separating tactic. Fear is what gives birth to black and white, good and evil, light and dark. Fear is actually what gives birth to duality. Love is what harmonizes what we think of as opposites and brings them back together. It shows us a path towards harmonizing with each other. So love is always going to win. And if you're an old soul, indigo, starseed, light worker, you know that. But you're also being lied to day after day after day after day on purpose. And as I said early on, the reason for that is to create mental dysfunction, psychosis, cognitive dissonance, so that you don't know how to react to the fact that you're being lied to. But the old soul has the ultimate tool. It's the tool of discernment. And when you exercise that tool of discernment, you will slice through their narrative with a samurai sword. It won't stand a chance. And they're really afraid of that. Who is the controlling people, the New World Order, all these big tech companies that are censoring everything? Who is it that they're most afraid of? You. They're most afraid of you, old soul. Why? Why would they possibly be so afraid of you? Because you're a powerful agent of change. By holding truth in your heart, you don't even have to speak it. By holding truth in your vibration, you begin to change the vibrations of everybody around you. That's the power of the old soul. The power of the old soul is that you just are, by definition of being here, you are an agent of change. Your frequency is so dominant that it changes every heart that you come in contact with. I'm so passionate about that subject because I think that we as old souls, we have this constant inferiority complex that we must get over. We must heal that part of ourselves. And it comes from past life trauma as well as current life trauma of being killed for speaking the truth, of being shamed and kicked out of society for speaking truth, of being called witches, of being called demon worshipers, simply because you see the harmony of nature. And without ever worshiping an actual Luciferian soul, the ones that do worship the Luciferian agenda call you a devil worshiper. How ironic is that? That's what happens. That's what happens. They're most afraid of you because you, old soul, have the power to change people just by the state of your being. Not by convincing people, not by shouting words and shoving them into people's eardrums. You, old soul, are able to change people simply through your state of being. When you are able to breathe and show your peaceful vibration, when you're able to embody joy in a time where people say you should only be feeling chaos, if you're able to embody joy, that is wild. You will confuse everybody that's in a state of chaos because they're going to be like, how in the world are you doing that? How in the world, during a time of pandemic, the plandemic, How in the world, during this ultimate time of global chaos, are you able to be peaceful? That is when you're going to have their attention. That is when they're going to open up to you to a whole new level. And that's how you are actually going to change this planet. The other thing that you need to remember is that you're not alone. All of us old souls came back here as individuals so that we could be in our individual pods to be able to affect the whole planet. It would not have made sense for every old soul to come back together to this planet in one group that stayed only with each other. We would have no effect on other people then. So when every old soul reincarnated on this planet, we voluntarily decided to stand as individuals in these pods that we call families and in these groups that we call communities. We would find other old souls here and there, and as the Great Awakening occurs, we're going to find more and more old souls to have community with. But we ultimately came into this dimension as individual rogue agents because we knew that our presence had to be global. Our presence had to be felt in every community, in every relationship, in every family, in every form of government, in every form of corrupt entertainment and corporation. If you're an old soul and you worked in a corporation, I know somebody watching this video, I'm speaking to you right now. If you're an old soul and you worked in a corporation and eventually you quit that job because you wanted to pursue the higher path, guess what? That wasn't you being taken advantage of. That was what you came here to do. You didn't get into that corporate gig because you were MK Ultra'd. You got into that corporate gig because your old soul came here to fuck that game up. And guess what? You did. And then when you were done with completely changing that narrative, your soul was ready and you went on to the next thing. And now the insecurity of the old soul says, maybe I was taken advantage of. I don't know if I had any impact. I'm so afraid that I didn't, that I just didn't do what I came here to do because I did that corporate thing. No, that's exactly what you came here to do. And then that contract ended. And now you're on to the next wave. We had to go into all forms of this reality, all forms of this control matrix to break it. And now that it's broken, we're expanding out of it. So I went into the entertainment industry to bring the light into it. And I did not succumb to the darkness. I brought the light into the darkness. And then when my time was done there, on a divine schedule, I moved on. And now I'm doing this. And I'm making videos for you guys. And I'm telling you the truth as I see it and the truth that resonates deep within my soul. And I believe that we are raising the consciousness of this planet. There are more light workers, old soul, indigo, crystal children, all of them. There's more than there ever has been in the past. And it's on purpose. We're doing it on purpose. We're all here on purpose during this exact period of time to recreate the planet. And we're going to recreate the planet through our frequency, which means our heart energy, not through our opinions, not through the journalists that we just parrot to each other, not through the social media posts that we just mindlessly push out to whoever will pay attention to and give us a dopamine hit. You came here to embody a frequency. And it's only when you stay true to the embodiment of that frequency, which is your old soul nature, it's not hard to do. When you stay true to that frequency, you disrupt the whole game. You're a wildfire. You're a wildfire. And they're desperately trying to put you out, but they can't, and they know it. So I'm going to wrap up there. Before I officially end the live stream, please put some comments on here. I want to talk directly to those that are watching before we officially wrap up. So anything that's come up for you, now's your chance to put it in the chat. I've seen a few chats over here on Instagram, so I'm going to read these. And you on YouTube, just put some stuff in the chat so we can talk a little bit more. Let's see what Instagram says. Instagram. I'm going to pick it up over here. So Instagram. Yeah, Henry Wallbanger says, a fiat fugazi monetary system. You are on it, brother. Yep, fiat currency. We're in a debt-based system, y'all. Every dollar that we have is actually a form of debt. Every dollar that we think we get that makes us rich actually makes us more in debt. Because guess what? America's bankrupt. That's not an opinion, that's a fact. America declared bankruptcy in 1933. Every dollar that was created after that was to offset our bankruptcy. So we're in a debt-based monetary system. We've never gotten out of bankruptcy. That's a fact. Look that up. All right, what other comments we got here? I see Lizard saying, good for you, brother. Nice to see you, Lizard. Harvey also said, I believe Kanye sees exactly what you see. His faith in Christ is so important against the Luciferian agenda. Yeah, that dude's interesting. If you go back to 2015 when he was doing those rants, that was just around the time I was officially quitting Hollywood. And it was amazing to see what he said. You should go back, watch it again on YouTube with today's awareness. Go back to that one rant where he's standing on that platform above the crowd. He talks for like 18 minutes and then he walks off stage. It was a wild moment back in 2015, but his speech is incredible. Go watch that. Because after that moment, I believe Kanye got taken in by the handlers, handcuffed. He was handcuffed to a stretcher, taken by an ambulance from a hospital to some sort of mental place, given drugs, given MK Ultra, and now if you notice, he's much more docile. I still think he sees the game for what it is, but he's much more docile. Let's see. Yaman Sharma says, hey, Kevin, we need some live sessions back with you. Yeah, I'm trying to do more of this. I've been feeling the urge to speak like this much more. And then Harvey says, thank you for your beautiful light. Yeah, man. Thank you for watching and for tuning in and for resonating. Now I'm going to check the YouTube comments and see what's going on here before we officially get out of here. Oh, wow. I'm going to go way back. Quanta Oversoul says, the blind are leading us off a cliff. Us light workers see right through that farce. The people, or they want people to know what to believe. Yeah, I don't quite understand, or to not know. I see your typo, yeah. They want people to not know what to believe. Exactly. And we're being led by the blind, which is the people asleep in the matrix that are pushing this agenda on us. They don't even know why they're doing it. They're just doing it. All right. Sam says we need to unify. Yeah, we do. Because in unity consciousness, that is exactly how we're going to end the mind control. Let's see. Michael says, what is your take on all the fires happening? Geoengineering? I don't know too much about the fires happening. And, you know, I'm not going to make speculations. I know there's a lot of amazing old Tesla technology that he developed that supposedly could be turned into geoengineered weapons. I don't know. I'm not going to like say that that's what it is. I don't truthfully know what it is. And unless I feel truth, I'm not going to speak on it. But clearly, we're at a period of time where all of our ancestors told us this was going to be a time of upheaval in consciousness and in nature. So we're experiencing an incredible shift, not just because humans are changing. The planet Earth itself is changing. The planet Earth is actually raising its vibration, which is why either A, you're going to piggyback on that vibration and raise yourself to the next dimension of human consciousness, or you're going to get kicked off because Mama Earth says so. So that's what I think. I think that the world is going through all kinds of changes. And I also don't like giving credit to these, New World Order controller shadow beings. I don't like giving them credit where credit's not due. If they didn't make a natural disaster, if I give them credit for it and give them my fear for it, now I'm actually giving them more power than they deserve. So I'm not going to just give these people credit. Not going to play that game. Let's see. Yeah, I see a bunch of other comments. Love is the highest vibration. That is so true. Beautiful words. Happy Sunday, everyone. Happy to be here. That's a good comment. Much love, everybody. I needed that reminder. We gonna win? Yes, we are. I believe it was Oh, Nicole says she thinks that Kanye's concert was in Fresno. Well, that's very synchronistic. I was born in Fresno. I don't know if it was in Fresno or not, but if it was, that's amazing. I was born in Fresno, California. So, all right, unless I get any other last minute questions, I'm out of here, guys. Thank you so much for listening. And if you haven't watched these documentaries, I hope at the very least I've convinced you to give them your time, because they are going to show you things that you need to see and that you're not going to see if you just follow the matrix mind programming mainstream media narrative. And we can only be effective for actual positive change to bring in this new earth if we expose ourselves to truth. And truth is now very controversial. So it takes a warrior. And I know you, old soul, you're a warrior. So expose yourself to this stuff. Use your tool of discernment. If you don't think that something is legit, you follow that. If you expose yourself to this information and something about it says, I don't know, follow that, honor that. I'm not advocating that you think about all this stuff the way that I do. I'm advocating that you expose yourself to it, because mainstream media, Google, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all of it, they say that you should not expose yourself to it, period. And then they make the decision to remove it from your reality so that you are never exposed to it. But it is your divine right to be exposed to it if you want. And so you should, at the very least, even if you think it's going to be total garbage and bullshit, expose yourself to it so that you can decide if it's bullshit. Are you really comfortable letting Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, the dude that owns Google, are you comfortable letting them tell you that it's not worth your attention or that it shouldn't be seen? I'm all for the individual rights of the human being. So I say you watch it for yourself and you come to your own conclusion. That's the difference between me and mainstream media. Mainstream media says don't watch it, and in fact we're going to keep it off the internet because it should never have been put up there anyways. And you should just never see it. I'm saying I don't care if you agree with me or not, watch it. You decide. You have the power of discernment, so you decide. Use your God-given tool of the power of discernment to watch it for yourself, and then you decide. Don't just parrot what you read in an article about pandemic or what you read in an article about all this stuff. You don't know what they saw. You don't know what they're actually talking about. You don't know what they left out of the article to come to that conclusion. So you should use your own power of discernment to go out there and figure it out for yourself. Because if you don't, someone else is going to do it for you, and they may not have your best interest in mind. They might just be keeping you asleep in the matrix. You never know. You never know. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Thank you so much for coming through. I wish nothing but blessings, abundance, joy, happiness, prosperity, peace, and love for all of you that have been watching, for all of your friends, all of your family. May you be uplifted. May you breathe deep. May you find peace in the holiest of spirits that comes through your heart center. May you be an effective and powerful agent of change. All right? Much love to all of you. Until I see you again along the journey, oneness in sound, I am OnenO. Peace out.